The problem with the Russian government is this. They will further rather just kill themselves before they actually confront the source of all their problems, and that is Putin. There's fear, there's insecurity, but this is the nature of Russian elite politics at the moment. Nobody can be sure of tomorrow.
The Russian former transport minister has been declared dead after an apparent suicide, just hours after he was dismissed by Vladimir Putin. Now, meanwhile, Russia's Communist Party has described Nikita Khrushchev's 1956 denunciation of Stalin as erroneous and politically biased. We can talk to Sergey Radchenko, professor at Johns Hopkins University and author of To Run the World, the Kremlin's Cold War Bid for Global Power. Professor, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. So, should we start with Roman Starovoit, the transport minister? He was dismissed. He is then found his death attributed to suicide. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he was dismissed by Putin today. Clearly, his suicide, if it was a suicide, is related to this. He has been, or there have been rumors of his connection to a money embezzlement scandal. He was the former governor of the Kursk region. When the war began to strengthen the frontier against possible Ukrainian incursion, later when incursion happened, there was an investigation, and the governor who followed Starovoit was then dismissed, and he has been investigated for money embezzlement. So there has been speculation that Starovoit was also potentially being dragged into this scandal. But of course, we don't know what happened. What it does show is that it's very unsafe to be a Russian government minister at the moment.
Well, I guess we can see why you would say that. It is more normal for officials, even high officials, maybe especially high officials who fall foul of President Putin, to end up in jail, isn't it?
Well, this is unusual. I don't know of any other case of a suicide. There was a case when a former media minister was found dead in a hotel room in Washington, Mikhail Lesin. That was a few years ago, which was suspected murder, not suicide. So this is very, very unusual. But, the problem with the Russian government is this. They will further rather just kill themselves before they actually confront the source of all their problems, and that is Putin. There's fear, there's insecurity, but this is the nature of Russian elite politics at the moment. Nobody can be sure of tomorrow.
No. Let's turn then to the, should we call it an attempted rehabilitation of the reputation of Stalin, of Joseph Stalin. It's about Nikita Khrushchev's denunciation of Stalin's cult of personality and the use of terror, which came in 1956. Now it's been called erroneous by the communists. Tell us about that.
Well, the Russian Communist Party, of course, has a Stalinist orientation anyway, so there's nothing surprising about this in particular. The longtime head of the Russian Communist Party, Gennady Zyuganov, has been an outspoken Stalinist who has been bringing flowers to Stalin's grave near the Kremlin wall. So it doesn't really mean anything. And by the way, the Russian Communist Party doesn't really have any influence in Russia, Putin basically has them under control, as he has everybody else under control. But it is sort of symbolic, I guess, of the current day. There has been some kind of re-Stalinization underway in Russia, which is, of course, a sad thing to witness because the Stalinist period was extremely tragic for Russia, with so many people being imprisoned, etc. That's why Khrushchev, of course, spoke up against Stalin in February 1956 and condemned him for his crimes.
Yeah, I mean, so can the Kremlin, can Vladimir Putin be said to have something of a stake, an interest in this rehabilitation attempted of Stalin's reputation? As you say, under Stalin's rule, it's a matter of recorded history. Hundreds of thousands of people died. There were the gulags. There was mass torture. There was the Great Purge of 1937. It's not possible to whitewash that.
No, it's not. And Putin himself in the past has condemned that. But of course, his views keep changing. I would not say that Russia today is like the Soviet Union in 1937. Putin's regime is pretty brutal, and there are hundreds of people in prisons already, even today. But the level of brutality is nothing like it was in the Stalinist year. So Russia still has a lot to go before it becomes an outright Stalinist tyranny.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that it won't. But I don't see Putin pushing the whole Stalin worship thing. I think the communists are in the front as far as that goes.
And where does Stalin sit in the? I know that, different Russians will have different opinions, of course, but where does Stalin sit in the memory and the estimation of the Muscovite in the street today?
Well, it differs across Russia. A lot of Russians will see Stalin as this great historical figure who was unjustly maligned by Khrushchev. Many Russian intellectuals will agree with us that Stalin was a brutal tyrant and murderer, responsible for the death of hundreds and thousands and millions of people, indeed. But I think it's very difficult to pinpoint here the majority opinion. The majority opinion in Russia seems to be generally on the, I would say, the conservative side, the nationalist side, perhaps even the Stalinist side. So I don't see this decision by the Communist parties being hugely controversial in Russia today, except in the circle of the Russian intelligentsia that don't really count for anything at this point.
And Professor Sergey Radchenko, thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. So we had a good day. We talk about sanctions a lot, yeah.
What does he say?
I would say he's not thrilled with it, but, he's been able to handle sanctions, but these are pretty biting sanctions. No, we talk about sanctions a lot. And he understands that it may be coming, and, he's a professional.
It may be coming.
Yeah, I'd like to see it happen. I don't want to see 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 soldiers killed every week. And you have other people, but for the most part, so far it's been mostly soldiers. And they're Ukrainian soldiers, and they're also Russian soldiers. But it's 5,000 souls, and they're being killed every single week. So it's really higher than that now. No, I think I'm tougher on Russia than I was on almost any other country.
Would you like to see Patrick?
Thank you very much. Thank you.